What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tapping in when you saw this, and credit goes to all original creators. Quick disclaimer, this is just for educational purposes only. Okay, so this one is messy. Trump just floated $20 billion to Argentina while farmers in the US are struggling. At the same time, Argentina is doing business with China, especially with soybeans, America's traditional export to China, that is. So not only are we funding a rival, we might be losing our market too. This is betrayal to the backbone of agriculture in the United States, if you ask me. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much. Let's watch the clips and we'll be back with some commentary.
Some great news for farmers. Their prayers and protests have finally been seen by the Trump administration, and now they're going to be saved. The ones in Argentina, that is. This week, Trump's Treasury Secretary announced a $20 billion economic support deal for Argentina. And right after that, Argentina suspended its export taxes on soybeans. The result? They sold 20 shiploads of soybeans to China in just 2 days. Meanwhile, in the US, farmers are harvesting in panic mode with no buyers in sight. China hasn't purchased U.S. soybeans since May. As Caleb Ragland, president of the American Soybean Association, put it, the frustration is overwhelming. I still don't understand what you and all the other Republican farmers are so frustrated about, Caleb. This is what you literally voted for. U.S. soybean prices are falling, and farmers read headlines not about a trade agreement with China, but that the U.S. government is extending $20 billion in economic support to Argentina. Well, unlucky for you, you're going to have to wait till the next Democratic president gets in. Trump is helping farmers, just not the ones in America. So much for America first.
Hey, MAGA! Is America first when Trump takes billions from Americans to rescue a collapsing foreign economy? Yeah, not so much, huh? Did you know Donald Trump wants to send $20 billion to Argentina to prop up their far-right president, Javier Milei? Trump calls Milei fantastic and a friend because Milei campaigned on Trump-style slogans, rails against the left, slashes social programs, and even waves chainsaws at rallies to symbolize cutting government. He's basically a South American MAGA mascot. Argentina needs the money because the country is in an economic freefall, with record inflation, a collapsing currency, and debt payments it can't cover. Milei's answer has been brutal budget cuts, higher gas and electricity prices, slashed food assistance, frozen wages, mass layoffs, and gutted schools and hospitals. In other words, Milei is making life harder for the poor, enriching the wealthy, and calling it reform. It looks exactly like Trump's playbook. Critics say Trump's bailout isn't about stabilizing Argentina. It's about helping his political twin before an election. This isn't a simple, we lend, they repay deal. It's the U.S. taking on financial risk to keep Milei afloat. If it works, markets calm down. If it fails, U.S. taxpayers lose billions. This isn't America first, it's Argentina first. $20 billion could feed 9.2 million Americans for a year on food stamps, build 80,000 affordable homes, take 1 million homeless people off the street, cover disability benefits for 1 million veterans, provide Medicare coverage for 1.3 million seniors, keep 2,000 hospitals open, fund childcare for 1.7 million kids, or pay 308,000 teachers' salaries for a year. Sorry, Americans. When Trump needs to stroke his buddy, it's Argentina first, Trump second, and regular Americans somewhere around 37th. Right between Ivanka's next trademark and the next MAGA sneaker drop. Yeah. Well, Trump, I hope you're having the day you deserve.
American farmers have destroyed themselves by voting for this Trump regime. Their hate for so many groups of people that they have learned to demonize allowed them to vote themselves out of business by voting for Donald Trump and today's MAGA Republicans. I don't know what else to say. We already know how the American soybean farmer was decimated this fall. China, their biggest customer, placed exactly 0 orders for soybeans from American farmers because of Donald Trump's regime's tariffs. They went to Brazil. We all saw the videos of the farmers crying in Arkansas, I believe it was. Please, Mr. President, we love you, but come save us. Oh, you guys, it just gets so much worse. So you know how our $20 billion in taxes, yours, Mr. Farmer, and mine, was just snatched from us and given to the leader of Argentina to help keep their version of Donald Trump in power? Your $20 billion and my $20 billion? This was screenshot on our Department of Treasury's cell phone from our Department of Agriculture. Ready? Finally, just a heads up, I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate, the text said. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines are removing their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices are dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us. And he responds, Besant responds, on a plane, Scott, but I'll call you when I land. You guys voted for this. The Democrats, who y'all hate so much, you've been programmed to hate your fellow neighbor, your family members. You guys voted for this. We warned all of you because we're not in a cult. We could see how these decisions affect businesses, affect our farmers. We were fighting for farmers, telling you don't vote for this, and you voted for this. Your tax dollars, this Trump administration just used to fuck you even further, Mr. Soybean farmer, and grains. This affects a lot of other farmers, not just soybean farmers. Anybody who harvests and sells grains to China. Here you go.
MAGA is losing it because this is not what Donald Trump promised. He promised we would put America first. And now, because of his trade war that he has no plan to win, no idea how to win, he is betraying all of his promises. But think of this. MAGA, farmers, two voting blocks for Donald Trump are both losing in this situation. So the question has to be asked. How many more times will you believe Donald Trump? How many more times will you believe Republicans before you realize they're lying to you, except when they say they don't care about you, they just want your vote?
Trump took money and business out of American farmers and American taxpayers and gave it to Argentina so that Argentina can do business with China and make the money that the American farmers would have been making had Donald Trump not imposed these ridiculous tariffs on China. But Trump is still making America great. What the fuck?
Farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. And you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. So all my premium, they all went to Argentina.
How are your other farmers, for your friends feeling? I know a lot of them are Trump supporters. Do they still feel good?
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. Everybody's scared to death.
MAGA, do you want to know why Trump bailed out Argentina for $20 billion? I'll tell you why. Okay, you're going to laugh at this one. Because it benefits you. No, it doesn't. Not even close. It benefits his billionaire friend, Citron. Citron bought bonds in Argentina. Because he has ties there, he's bought more bonds. With a $20 billion loan to Argentina, his bonds now make more money. So he's making more money. What did I say? Billionaires versus corporations. And billionaires were always screwed. Screw the American farmers. What does a billionaire give a damn about the American farmers? So what you have now is $20 billion going to Argentina, which is fine with me. I don't mind. That helps my family out there. And it screws your farmers. Because Argentina got the soya bean contract with Japan, or with China. Guess who lost the contract? The USA. Why? Because Trump doesn't give a damn about MAGA. He cares about money, and about his friends and impressing his friends. MAGA, you're just suckers.
Starting to say, I never thought that voting for Trump 3 times would result in me losing tens of thousands of dollars. A beekeeper out of North Carolina says, yeah, I proudly voted for Trump all 3 times. I flew flags for him and put signs for him in the yard. But now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars due to lost federal funding and tariffs. So I cannot export my products, my honey and my wax, to other countries like I could before, and nobody's buying it in the United States. hay producers in Idaho and Utah that export alfalfa hay to China are now seeing 135% tariffs put on their product. And all of a sudden, they don't have anywhere to ship it. They held it all winter in hopes of sending it off to China in the spring. And now China's not willing to buy. Soybean producers are once again being hit harder than they were in the first Trump administration. And China, for its part, has diversified where it pulls these products from, with Brazil becoming the #1 soybean exporter and other countries picking up the slack for honey, for beeswax, and for hay around the world. Now, China's doing a great
fertilizer and seed and diesel fuel. All of these things have just about tripled in price. And I'm selling my commodity for the same thing I was in the 80s. I've never seen anything like this. And it's all due to the president's tariffs.
And an Arkansas farmer is also pointing out that Donald Trump's tariffs are a direct cause of this, saying we produce 40% more agricultural products in this country than we can consume domestically. 1 in every 4 rows of soybeans goes abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country. We went from $12 billion to 0. The price for them doing their business has tripled, and their sales are plummeting drastically because other countries aren't importing our crops anymore. You know it's not good when they're being forced to sell their crops at 1980s prices while paying 2025's cost. The math doesn't add up. They're going to go out of business. Farmers are losing their farms across this country. Generational livelihoods are on the line, and rural communities are collapsing at levels we've never seen before, all because of Donald Trump's tariffs. And these aren't just Democratic talking points. These are words coming directly from the farmers themselves.
A world where he's cutting aid to literally every other nation except for Argentina. What the hell is going on? Well, there's actually an explanation to that. And I know that because this has happened before. See, the elite of our society need Argentina to succeed. They need Argentina to succeed. Let me explain. Once upon a time, in the 80s, our country went through a complete socioeconomic restructuring. This is why I'm somewhat empathetic to MAGA people, because at the bottom of it all, they have identified one very correct thing. And it's that something has changed. And that's true. And that change happened in the 80s. See, prior to the 80s, we existed in a system known as liberalism. But then, in the 1980s, the elite of our society enforced a new system upon us, neoliberalism. Now, the mistake many people make is thinking because those two words sound the same, they're similar systems. Completely different systems. Completely different systems. And these systems were enforced upon us in the 80s by the elite, because that system, neoliberalism, would benefit them. So during the transition period of neoliberalism being installed into our nation, the elites of our society used other foreign nations as test beds for their ideas. This is your Greece, this is your Chile, this is Georgia, these are your post-Soviet bloc states. And basically every single one of those experiments ended in disaster. Because neoliberalism is a nightmare system that makes everything terrible, as evident by the gestures at everything in our society. But they still enforced this philosophy on us nonetheless. And that is what is happening today. Once again, the elite of our society are toying with the idea of restructuring our socioeconomic system. And Argentina was their first test bed of that ideology. And it was a complete disaster, driving what was otherwise a struggling but stable nation into absolute societal collapse in less than a year. And so they are desperate to do anything they can to make Argentina look like it works, giving them our soybean market, giving them billions of dollars, anything they can to make Argentina look successful. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we going to allow the elite to once again drive us into an absolute societal ruinous philosophy, just like they did back with neoliberalism? Because they're going to pretend like it works, but it doesn't.
So you give $20 billion to Argentina, and Argentina goes ahead and sells soybeans to China, and China stops buying from US farmers. That is a triple loss. Farmers are furious. Why bail out a competitor and undermine your own people? That is not diplomacy. That's sabotage. And yes, there's talk of a US aid package to support soybean farmers now, but how much will it fix the damage already done? Anyways, credit to the original creators of the clips featured. This is for educational and commentary purposes only. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next one.